Is it worth playing Metroid Dread in 2025? Let's find out, shall we? So yes, I know it's a shocker. I have never played any Metroid games before this. Like, I've been gaming for 20 years or so. So this is actually my first Metroid game. So I'm coming to this with no expectations from past titles. And if you are someone that has never touched Metroid games before, well, I have to say you are in for a treat. So I finally decided to pick up Metroid Dread because of the recent Metroid Prime 4 announcement. There's a lot of people, like, they're really hyped about this Metroid Prime 4, and I've never played this game at all. So this is one of the reasons why I wanted to try it out, to understand the appeal of this series. And boy, this game is pretty good, and of course it's not without its flaws, which I'll talk about in this review, but I am definitely hyped about Metroid Prime 4 now. So well, if you have never played any Metroid games before like me, what is it all about? Well, its story is pretty simple and understandable as with most Nintendo first-party title games. It's by no means a complex storyline, but it is decent enough to move the game and plot forward. The game starts with us, the player, as Samus, engaging in combat with this villain called Ravenbig. And he stole our power, and we get some like PTSD. We get lured into this underground cave with a bunch of aliens and stuff trying to kill us. So our objective is to get to the surface, board our ship and escape. And we get help from this like robot computer thing that actually provide guide to us along the way. So along the way, you do get power-ups that allows you to get across obstacles that you previously couldn't. So in essence, this is a Metroidvania game. So if you didn't know what's a Metroidvania game, you basically go into a map filled with doors and areas you couldn't access. Then gradually, when you fight bosses or go to certain areas to get power-ups, you open up doors and you can get through them. So it's basically Castlevania. It's the entire gameplay loop basically. So if you don't like Metroidvania games at all, then well, this game is that, and you probably wouldn't like it as well. Well, maybe. So one of the common reasons why people don't like Castlevania games is the fact that you can get lost very easily, spending hours wandering around and to quickly realize that you miss a door or like a small walkway that could allow you to progress further into the game. In Metroid Dread, however, although it is a Metroidvania game, it is fairly linear in design. There is always only one path to go. For example, once you unlock the ability that upgrades your shooting into like a triple shot, you just have to go to the nearest obstacles that requires you to use the triple shot, and from there you just follow the path and naturally you'll progress. So in that sense, if you don't like Metroidvania games because you get lost easily, then in Metroid Dread, its design is much more linear. Not to say that I didn't get lost early on, but once I understand the game design and to just follow the next obstacle, the progression is natural. And I was able to progress much faster and quickly. So let's talk about the gameplay. I feel like that's the most important and probably the best part of this game. So when you first pick up Metroid Dread, you immediately realize how smooth and responsive your character is. Super buttery, super responsive. The combat, super fast paced, responsive, good visuals, awesome audio cues. And as you unlock more abilities, Samus becomes much more powerful and agile, and she becomes extremely fun to play. You feel Samus getting stronger and stronger. One core mechanic in this game is the melee parry system. Enemy will glow and Samus can parry for instant kill or to deal large amount of damage to the bosses. So I do like parrying in games, but I feel like Metroid Dread is a bit too reliant on this parrying system. And as a result, I feel like a lot of these enemies, I don't really fight them and learn the enemy patterns, because I just wait for the parrying kill when they launch onto me and I can instant kill them. There's no need to like learn how to fight or dodge or maneuver around them, just simply parrying. So I kind of wish that they could, maybe for certain enemies, and to not be able to be parried, or if we could parry them, not instant kill them, you know, which makes a lot of these enemy encounters becomes like a wait for parry and kind of system. So overall, gameplay super smooth, super good, a little bit too reliant on the parrying system, right? So for bosses, pretty well done, but there's several like different variant of sort of like bosses, you can call them. So in Metroid Dread, there are so-called the enemies, sort of like a Mr. X in Resident Evil, that will chase you around in that certain area. It kills you instantly if you touch them. You do have like a brief period where you can actually parry and get away from them. And to defeat them, you have to kill a blue brain alien that upgrades your cannon to an Omega cannon. Then you can kill the enemies. So that's sort of the gameplay loop. You have to do it a couple of times, you know, kill the brain, then go and kill the enemies, get the new ability to get to the new area. The enemies and brains don't have much variations. They are like always almost the same. Like the brains you fight later into the game are like the same. They maybe shoot an extra projectile or from a different angle. Then the enemies almost the same. Some of them in the later game can freeze you when they look at you, but it gets boring very quickly because all of them are like the same, and you know, there's no variation in that. Then you have another sort of bosses, like mini boss encounters with those like Chozo soldiers, and there's another one, I don't know what's exactly the name. They do reappear multiple times, most of the time different colors, and move sets are always the same, and you know, not much variation, similar to the enemies and the brains that I mentioned previously. So you fight them a couple of times in the game. You don't really unlock anything when you fight this like Chozo soldiers and stuff. So they do get pretty stale quickly, but they are a good indicator of the progression that you have. Because when you fight them, they're fairly similar, and when you get stronger, you actually find them getting easier and easier. So it does bring that satisfaction of being stronger, but there isn't much variation of those mini bosses that I would like to see more of. Lastly, you have those major bosses. They are like super gigantic alien massive monsters. They are really cool looking, extremely well designed. Those are the bosses that I really enjoy. They are actually very challenging and lots of fun fighting them. Unfortunately, you don't get to fight many of those like gigantic alien monsters. I wish there were more because they are really well designed. They are like mini puzzles in a boss. You have to use certain movesets that you unlocked previously to actually defeat these bosses. They are extremely challenging, a little bit like Dark Souls, right? You have to learn the movesets to actually take them on. So the boss attacks are extremely well telegraphed. So usually after a couple of tries, you have to find, you will start to understand the moves and strategies to not take damage, and eventually you'll progress. You'll get to their phase 2, and then eventually you'll defeat them. So it's very satisfying to learn this boss movesets and eventually defeat them. Is super satisfying. I love these bosses. I love that they are not super easy. They're not a cakewalk. I actually do like that they are actually quite a bit of challenge, but I can see that certain players might find them too challenging, and especially for younger kids, they definitely will find some sort of struggle here, and that could be there could be difficulty for that, and there's no options to like turn down the difficulty or anything. There's nothing for that, so if you get stuck, you kind of get stuck in that way. But the boss, I wish that were more, and I really enjoy the boss fights. Gameplay and story aside, yes, the gameplay progression is super amazing. It really holds up this game. What about the performance and its graphics? Performance wise, extremely smooth. I haven't actually experienced any like frame rate drop on my end. Super smooth, 60 frames per second. Graphically, I wasn't expecting much for a Nintendo Switch game, but it does look very pleasing. The backdrop, the graphics are nice and colorful, and it's an added bonus to have good graphics and 60 frames per second, especially for action game. 60 frames per second is like, oh my god, it's super smooth, you know. So you'll be asking, so Tertro, from what I'm hearing, the story is pretty alright, basic but serviceable, and gameplay and progression is amazing with good performance and visual. So what do I not like about the game? Well, firstly, there's a couple of things I don't like about the game. First thing first, the enemies, or enemies, however you want to pronounce it. First few times you encounter it, yeah, it's kind of fresh, you know, it's okay, but it quickly gets stale, and I don't appreciate when a game forces me into this hide and seek gameplay mechanic alongside the same gameplay loop of killing the brain, getting the Omega Cannon, then doing the same thing to kill the enemies. Well, it gets boring fairly quickly. Then with the linearity of the game, right, it sort of forces you to follow that one path, and anytime, and this actually happens to me a couple of times, right, when I decided to backtrack to the other locations when I unlock new abilities, you definitely 100% will get lost, because if you lose that one path, or like you go and unlock the path, then you go and backtrack and explore, and you forgot how to get back, you spend a lot of time wandering around. And there are also situations where I miss out on shooting like a block on the floor that allows me to access this area to the next location. So then I spend my time running around trying to find what the enemies or what are the doors I can open, but it's actually, there's one block on the floor that I have to shoot to then roll through that block to the next location. And there's actually a couple of times that I have to use the YouTube to search it out. How do I go about to progress? But gradually, when I started having more hours into the game, I started to understand that this game is it wants me to shoot randomly on the blocks to find if there's any hidden blocks in that location. So then once I started doing that, I stopped getting lost. But when I first started the game, you don't really expect the game wanting you to do that. I mean, they did pop up a screen telling you to shoot randomly when you don't know what to do, but then at the same time, like, there's so many areas to shoot, you know, and because of that, I did get lost a couple of times, and it gets annoying quickly, and I almost wanted to quit the game because of that. And also, it kinda don't feel like a Metroidvania game, because most of the time Metroidvania games, you're kind of expected to memorize the location, know the ins and outs of that location, and really absorb and be immersed in that area you're fighting, right? And know the enemy patterns and everything. Over here, I feel like I'm just going to the next path, going to the next obstacle, and just keep progressing. Yes, there are new enemies popping up, but a lot of times I fight them once or twice and I go to the next location. I'm not really like interacting or engaging them much. Throughout this game, I feel like I'm just going through like a train track, you know, I'm just going along this track to the next exciting moment the game wants me to go to. I kind of wish we have a little bit more leniency in how we approach going to the next area and exploration. rather than just going in this particular direction, going to the next obstacle, and it's a little bit kind of rushing the player in a sense. So I wish there's a little bit more allowing the players to have different approach to going and progressing through the game. And also talking about the exploration, right? I do find that the upgrade system and the rewards for exploration is extremely boring and lackluster. Usually you'll just get like a missile +2 upgrade, and then once in a while you do find HP upgrade. So, and I wish there could be more like rewarding things, you know, be like cosmetics or maybe exclusive weapons, the weapons that you don't really need to progress a game but adds to the game, that so that you can reward players for exploration and backtracking. And traversing from one area to another is basically a loading screen. A lot of times you're boarding the elevator, the train, it's just basically a loading screen. And I feel like they could probably do something with this, you know, like having an area that we can actually go through, fighting monsters and exploring it. Like a zone between those two areas that is like a combination, right? So like, you know, we would like to see how the environments and the aliens coexist in between like two distinct different zones. That would be very interesting. And you know, traversing through the area is, you're getting, perhaps it is a little bit too demanding to like create an area for players to go through and connecting those different zones together. Could be that, or like the map may look too massive. But I feel like rather than a loading zone between areas, they could probably do something better than that and make the game much more immersive. Because a lot of times when I'm just teleporting between areas, and certain times you actually teleport consecutively, like teleport to this area, I get like a power up, then I teleport to the next area. It felt it break my immersion a lot of times, and I feel like something can be done here. This game is fairly short. Now it took me about 7 hours to complete, and there were actually quite a few moments that I left the game open. You know, I went to the bathroom or take my water or do something else. So it also depends on how much backtracking you have done and how long you take to defeat the boss, because the boss can be quite difficult. So if you actually die a lot of times, you know, you can actually have a much longer gameplay. But I mean, that's artificially stretching out the game length. You know, so I would say it ranges from maybe about 7 at most to 10 hours of gameplay. So a very short game for $60 actually, but it actually felt right in terms of game length. With recent game titles like Kingdom Come Deliverance stretching to hundreds of hours of gameplay, and there's a lot of games like going above and beyond 50 hours to 100 hours, and players actually are expecting long hours of gameplay because they want to stretch their dollar, with games becoming increasingly more expensive. I do appreciate shorter and high quality games like this. I just wish a game could go on a little bit more, with a couple of bosses, maybe like 1 or 2, when we finally get Samus with a full gear and upgrades. Because when you, at the end, when you actually get a full set of upgrades with Samus, right, you feel super powerful. You feel like you are actually like a superhuman or something. I don't know what you call it, right? But when you get everything, wow, it's damn fun to play. And I wish I could experience her full power, like traversing a new area and defeating new bosses with her full kit. But you don't really get to do that. By the time you get like everything, the game just quickly ends. You fight the final boss, then the game's end. So I wish maybe it can stretch a little bit more, like maybe one more area or like a boss or 2, something like that, you know. Okay, so let's talk about the ending a little bit. So I will avoid spoilers, so I'll not mention the story or anything, but the ending is good. The ending sequence, super epic, lots of fun. The boss fight is super difficult actually. It's quite difficult, but once you kind of find a strategy, it's manageable. You can take it on, you know. Yeah, there's a story. I think it comes to a conclusion, I think fairly okay. I mean, the story itself is not that interesting, but yeah, the game does conclude on a very epic sequence, and I do find myself quite satisfied with the ending. Overall, it's an amazing 2D Metroidvania game. I highly recommend it if you don't mind the flaws I speak about. You know, like the lack of exploration, and you don't really have to backtrack because it's quite linear. The game will just bring you on and on. But the game has very good things about it. The buttery smooth combat, the good visuals and audio, and this game, when you play on a portable system like Switch, and it's super buttery smooth, super crisp gameplay, you know, it's a very good game for that. I highly recommend it if you don't mind the things that I speak about. And in 2025, it definitely still holds up. It's an amazing platform action 2D game, and I feel like it's a pretty good entry point if you haven't played any Metroid games, because it does actually explain the premise of the Metroid and like the story and stuff like that. So in terms of score, I would give it like a solid 8. You know, there are things to improve on, but it's definitely a solid experience, and I don't regret playing it at all, and I'm looking forward to Metroid Prime 4. Okay, so yeah, before I end off this video, I hope that you enjoy the video, find it insightful on whether you should play Metroid Dread in 2025. This is actually my first game review video. I hope to make more of this type of videos for Switch games, because I do enjoy playing Nintendo games a lot. And if there's anything that you dislike or like, or anything that you want me to talk about, or perhaps like the structure of the video, there's things to be improved upon, let me know in the comments. And if you do enjoy this type of videos, please subscribe.
Uploading data.